88 seats across 13 constituencies, 13 states of the country voted today. Phase 2 of Lok Sabha elections of 2024 done and dusted. This voting took place across 88 seats in 13 states today. 1,200 candidates in the fray, including 4 candidates from outer Manipur, contested the polls. The highest turnout in Tripura at 76.2%, while Bihar turnout remains a sense of concern. I'm also joined by my colleague Ankit, who is in UP. Ankit, how is it going there?
Vasudha, before in fact we go into the nitty-gritties, let me first tell you, ladies and gentlemen, welcome. And what you see behind us right now in Meerut, this is the conclusion of the second phase of voting. 10 minutes back, the locks were put in. Anybody who is inside at this moment are the only people, those who are able to vote. People, those who are standing outside waiting or who waited for the last minute to come and exercise their franchise, they would not be able to exercise and, vote for their favorite candidate, at least in this general election. They will have to wait for 5 more years to exercise their franchise. The whole idea this time after the first phase was to try and push up the voting percentage. Prime Minister has been appealing. There have been limited appeals made by the Election Commission of India as well. Despite all that, it seems that though it might be marginally better than the first phase, but the second phase, the heat, the temperatures outside are causing, the spirits to be low. They are a dampener as far as people are concerned. I saw a lot of people, at least 10, 15 people coming here post 6 p.m. trying to vote, trying to get inside. They waited till the last minute, and then now, of course, they have not been able to vote. But during the day, especially the second half of the day, post 3 p.m., it was heartening to see long queues. At least a lot of people at that point of time when the temperatures went down did come out to vote. But Basudha, as you were talking about Uttar Pradesh, important state, you know it better than most. For the BJP, 80 out of 80 is the target. And with these 8 seats, 16 seats of Uttar Pradesh, particularly the western UP belt of Uttar Pradesh, will come to a conclusion. This phase, the BJP had performed exceedingly well in 2019. 7 of these 8 seats were won by the Bharatiya Janata Party. Only Amroha was lost. Meerut, where I am standing, was won by a slender margin. It's a very interesting contest in Meerut as well. As we go in the show, we'll keep talking about it. But let's very quickly, Vasudha, introduce our colleagues, those who are joining us to just try and get a sense of how the voting has taken place in the second phase.
Well, the voter turnout across the country till 5 p.m. has been 60.7, and in Uttar Pradesh it has been 56.6. Sankit joins us from Meerut in Uttar Pradesh. We also have Ratnadeep, and we have Uma from Thiruvananthapuram, and Ratnadeep is from Guwahati. He's joining us from Assam today. In fact, he is in Moregaon district. Uma, coming to you, you are in Trivandrum today, and you are in one of the hot seats, and that is one battle that all of us are watching. It is Rajiv Chandrasekhar versus Shashi Tharoor. Tell us, what is it looking like, and what do you read into the polling numbers?
The polling numbers I would have expected would be much higher, considering that the kind of pitched battles and very, very competitive kind of campaigning that happened almost as a three-cornered contest between the sitting MP, Mr. Shashi Tharoor of the Congress, Rajiv Chandrasekhar of the BJP, and Panyan Ravindran of the CPI. But what you can see here again, this is another one of those roads where everywhere you can see the faces of Rajiv Chandrasekhar, Panyan Ravindran and Shashi Tharoor pasted all over the place. So that's a big change, I must say, from the politics of Kerala. Otherwise, usually on ideology lines, it's you're either an LDF supporter or a UDF supporter, and it's not very personality driven, but going by the kind of the visuals that you're seeing of all these faces all over the place in most of the roads in Trivandrum, you would gather that this has become totally a personality contest. That's a kind of that is the first thing about this particular election. The spending, of course, has gone up hugely, and Mr. Tharoor, who is always has a way with words, saying that he campaigned extensively while Mr. Rajiv Chandrasekhar, he claimed, campaigns expensively, and he says he's seeing the same pattern as in 2019 when the BJP did get to 30% and more and got the second place, and Shashi Tharoor at least hoping that he will be in the first place while getting Mr. Rajiv Chandrasekhar the second place only. But no, the supporters of Rajiv Chandrasekhar don't think so, and they believe that he is going to have a very good chance to vote. Voting wise, 60 plus percentage does not look so good, but the enthusiasm through the day, all of them seem to be quite early birds, because by 5 or 6, by 6 there was no queue in many of the, I visited at least about a dozen polling booths from 5 o'clock onwards, and it was only a trickle at that time. So Kerala, it certainly seemed to be early birds finishing with their voting early, and now the cross fingers till the 4th of June, because after this contest that they have fought quite with such a high pitched campaign, which Kerala has never seen before. BJP putting its full weight, I must say, in a Kerala, with the Prime Minister coming half a dozen times here to Kerala and making it seem like a three-cornered contest. So whether it's a Thiruvananthapuram, Thrissur, Pattanamthitta, where you have Anto Anthony against an Anil Anthony as well, and in fact, three of them contesting there with Anil Anthony, the BJP candidate.
Okay, I think we are experiencing some audio problem there with my colleague Uma's line. We'll try and reconnect with her. But Basudha, like the first phase, I think the main talking point and all eyes would be on the voting percentage. If Kerala, which usually votes high, is voting in the 60s, then of course there is a cause of worry. But what worry? Because both sides, the incumbent and the challenger, have their, in fact, logic, their positions to justify who is it going to help. But let me very quickly also bring in our colleague Ratnadeep Chaudhary, who's joining us at this moment. Ratnadeep, just give our viewers a sense of what has happened in the second phase in Assam. It's quite an important state, specifically for both the BJP and the Congress party, where the Congress is fighting to regain lost glory. And Hemanta Biswa Sarma, the man, the face that the BJP has in fact built after he came from the Congress party, wants a clean sweep.
Absolutely, absolutely. In fact, in Assam, till 5 p.m., there have been more than 70% voting, and right from the morning in all the 5 constituencies that went to poll in Assam, including Morigaon, from where I am reporting. Morigaon is part of Nagaon constituency. There have been, the women were the early birds. They came early in the polling stations, and the women turnout is something that perhaps might give hope to the BJP, given the fact that out of these 5 constituencies, if you leave out the tribal reserve Difu constituency, the rest of the 4 constituencies, you have more than 40% Muslim voters. And this time in the campaign, the BJP's reach out has been towards women, youth, and obviously the Muslim voters. So now one has to wait and see if Hemanta Biswa Sarma's campaign and his campaign of inclusive Sabka Saath, Sabka Vikas, whether it has translated into BJP getting a share of the Muslim vote. And if that happens, then the equations in many of the constituencies like Nagaon that Congress holds at this point of time with Pradyut Bardoloi, the sitting MP, Congress heavyweight, those equations might change also in constituencies like Silchar or in Karimganj, where there are tough fight. And in Silchar, remember, you have TMC which has fielded its candidate. So therefore, outside Bengal, Silchar is a test for TMC. But what is important to note, in all the 7 constituencies which have gone to poll today in second phase in Northeast, including parts of the outer Manipur seat, you have more than 70% polling, which is a very good sign. In Manipur, you have almost 76% polling, and Tripura, the East Tripura seat has polled 77% till 5 p.m. Remember, in the first phase also, Tripura West seat was the highest among all the 102 seats that went to poll, and now Tripura East has registered close to 80%. That's what we are getting to hear from EC sources. So therefore, this trend of BJP mobilizing its cadre to vote has continued in Tripura. Remember, Ankit, we had both together reported the assembly elections from there, and we did see the huge turnout at that point of time. And in Assam as well, this mobilization of women voters in large number perhaps would give some hope to the BJP more than the Congress. But the Congress says that the turnout in large number is in their favor. That's what they're claiming. But definitely these 25 seats in Northeast are very important for the BJP, because East and Northeast are the areas where the BJP wants to win big. And if that has to happen, then Congress has to regain seats like Nagaon, which had been lost bastions. But for the Congress, it is a survival battle as well in this region.
So Assam, at least the seats that went to vote today, not just the delimitation exercise that took place in the state, but also women voters, Bengali Muslim voters are all very important. That was my colleague Ratnadeep. Stay with us, Ratnadeep. We also have Saurabh Gupta joining us from West Bengal. Remember, 3 seats of West Bengal voted today: Raiganj, Balurghat and Darjeeling. Darjeeling is perhaps the most interesting seat, but Balurghat is where all the prestige is. This is where Shukanta Majumdar, the BJP president of West Bengal, is fighting from. And I hear that it's going to be not a very easy battle for the BJP. Saurabh Gupta joins us from Balurghat. Saurabh, what is the situation in North Bengal? North Bengal gave the maximum seats to the BJP in 2019. Success followed in 2021 as well for the party from this part of the state. And today, in fact, the Prime Minister was also in Uttar Malda. What is the situation in North Bengal looking like, particularly in Raiganj and Balurghat?
Well, these were all seats, I beg your pardon, that were swept by the BJP, and these are seats that the BJP would like to hold on to. Now, if I were to break down the seats one by one, let's start with Darjeeling. Darjeeling was a seat in which the BJP in 2019 had a lead of over 4 lakh votes. That's a huge margin for a winner to win by that kind of margin. But this time around, again, the TMC says that not only have they plans to make up for that margin, they are aiming for a win in that seat. They've fielded a local candidate. But as we all know, this seat has been with the BJP for a while now. Even when they had 1 seat, it was this seat that they had for a while. And therefore, BJP is pretty confident about sailing through in Darjeeling. Now let's come down to Raiganj. Raiganj is where there is a battle. Now, why do I say that? Well, because the Congress has fielded, I beg your pardon, a very strong local leader who's popularly known as Victor in the region. The BJP has changed the former MP, Deboshi Chaudhary, who was a minister, and taken her to Kolkata. They fielded Kartik Paul, a local leader, in her place. And for him, Amit Shah has campaigned here. Then also you have Krishna Kalyani, who also has 1 point with the BJP but has switched sides to the Trinamool. He also is a very influential businessman, an influential political leader, an influential businessman. And then you have a BJP leader who's also contesting. So that's a 3-way contest. And this seat is perhaps not as easy, but there are permutations and calculations. For example, if there is a division of votes, perhaps the BJP may sail through. And with a strong candidate of the Congress, there is a possibility of that happening. So these are all political, mathematical calculations that are there in the Raiganj seat. Now let's come to Balurghat. Balurghat is again very interesting. Shukanta Majumdar won by about 40,000 odd votes last time, if I'm correct. But the interesting thing was last time the Trinamool fielded a candidate with whom the local leadership of the Trinamool was unhappy. And Shukanta Majumdar had an edge because the local Trinamool was divided. This time the Trinamool has fielded a local candidate, someone who's believed whose anger in 2019 is believed to have helped the BJP. So these are the breakup. But again, Shukanta Majumdar is very confident of winning.
Right. Okay, so, what we'll try and do, we'll keep getting you the latest from all the states. 13 states, remember, went to poll 88 seats. And Vasudha and me will try and get you a sense from our reporters of what is happening on the ground. Last few voters, ladies and gentlemen, just the last couple of voters here as the voting concludes. Those who were inside the polling booths at 6 p.m. are the ones, those who are now exercising their franchise. And with that, it will be curtains on the second phase of the polling here, along with the other, in fact, states which have gone to polls in this phase. Now, with that, we are slipping into a very short break. On the other side, Vasudha and I will try and decode what this polling percentage, the trends from the ground as they emerge after the second phase. Coming back, stay tuned. Welcome back to this continuous coverage on NDTV, which gives you a 360-degree view from the ground. Best analysis in the studio. Vasudha and I, at this moment, as the voting closes, trying to get a sense from our colleagues of how the voting in the second phase has taken place. Let me very quickly take you to southern India, in Bengaluru, in Karnataka. In fact, my colleague Pratibha is joining us from Bengaluru. Pratibha, one of the key contests in this phase, as far as the seats that went to poll in Karnataka is concerned, is Bengaluru South, Tejasvi Surya versus Soumya Reddy, and also Bengaluru Rural, the only seat that the Congress party was able to win in the last election. What has been the voting percentage? What are you picking up from the ground?
In fact, what we really thought was that Bengaluru would really create a record this time as compared to 2019. Bengaluru has always been known for its low voter turnout. In fact, it has been abysmally low, even lower than the state average as well as the national average. And this time, of course, Bengaluru has once again disappointed us. The only constituency where the voter turnout has crossed 60% is Bengaluru Rural. But in the other constituencies like Central, North as well as South, it hovers between 49 to 51%, and that is definitely not something that Bengaluru is proud of at the moment, because a lot of campaigning that was done, a lot of awareness drives that were done by both the corporates as well as the government as well as the civic bodies here. But then, yes, it has been pretty much of a disadvantage here, because we're talking of over 2 crore voters and over 200 candidates in the fray. And definitely thought that over 2 crore voters would seal the fate of over 200 candidates here, but we'll have to wait and see how the election would really play out. But as far as the 14 constituencies are concerned, yes, it has crossed 60%, and Karnataka's next phase with respect to the election. Like you mentioned, Bengaluru South, Bengaluru Rural, as well as the constituencies in the old Mysuru region gaining a lot of importance, because we see high-stakes battle playing out there. Bengaluru Rural, in terms of Dr. C.N. Manjunath, the son-in-law of former PM H.D. Devegowda, versus D.K. Suresh, the only Congress bastion, as when you look at 2019 Lok Sabha election there. Bengaluru South, of course, a high-stakes battle between Tejasvi Surya of the BJP and Soumya Reddy, who's the daughter of sitting minister of the Karnataka government here. And we also have the Mysuru region, the old Mysuru region, where it is a heavy contest between the JDS as well as Siddaramaiah. Well, all eyes are on the guarantees, of course, the Congress guarantees versus Modi guarantees that have played a political narrative here ahead of the Lok Sabha election.
That's very interesting, because Pratibha, Bengaluru was one of those constituency cities that we were keenly looking at, because there is a contest, like you said, Tejasvi Surya versus Soumya Reddy, and in North Bengaluru there was a seat change. Sadanand Gowda had to be dropped and Shobha Karandalaje was fielded by the BJP. So, this interesting trend and this interesting detail was awaited as to, if the BJP and JDS transfer of vote was actually taking place. We'll get to know that on the 4th of June. But let me go to UP now. Ankit is there in Uttar Pradesh. Also, Vedant Agarwal, my colleague, is there in Noida. Vedant, you've covered Noida extensively. You've also been to Ghaziabad. This is the western part of the state, where the BSP and the Samajwadi Party actually did very well in 2019. This time the parties are fighting separately. In fact, RLD is with BJP. What is the scene on the ground? And this is also the region where the polling was not great in the phase 1 of the Lok Sabha polls. What does it look like now?
Well, in phase 2 as well, Vasudha, because the figures that have come till about 5 p.m., both Ghaziabad and Noida have reported voter turnout lower than the state average. In fact, Ghaziabad reported around 48% and Noida around 50%, a little over 50%, and the state average is 53%. So that's quite abysmal because, remember, more than 3 lakh first-time voters have been added to Noida and Ghaziabad as well. The number of first-time voters added to the electoral rolls is significantly high. So when you draw that comparison, it's rather abysmal, as I said. But here, of course, this is one of the most high-profile polling booths. This is where Mahesh Sharma, the BJP strongman eyeing a third term from Noida, cast his vote. We spoke to him today, and he said that, a third term for him is assured, exuding great confidence. Remember, as you are well aware, Vasudha, Noida and Ghaziabad, both traditionally BJP bastions. You have, the villages particularly have been voting in favor of the BJP in the past couple of terms, particularly when it comes to Ghaziabad. In Noida, of course, couple of factors that have contributed to the lower voter turnout. One, of course, a poll boycott call by the residents of the high-rise societies. Number 2, you also have, weather, of course, played a dampener. That's something that we've seen across the country. Then you also have an important factor here, which is urban apathy. Then, as analysts would tell you, and even people on the ground, when we spoke to Karyakartas on the ground, there hasn't been a natural shift of the electoral base as smoothly as the alliances have come together. And Ankit will tell you more about this as to how the BJP RLD alliance hasn't really played out that smoothly on the ground, and that is the sense that we have gotten. But and the caste arithmetic also when it comes to the Muslim and SC vote. So a lot of factors at play, but the voter turnout certainly not very impressive.
Yes. Absolutely. Vedant is, in fact, Vasudha bang on there when he says that a lot of dynamics, and one key aspect of this election has been that we are seeing this election becoming more local. People are talking about the, seat-by-seat dynamics, the caste arithmetic, all that being worked out. In 2019, it was a broad stroke of Prime Minister Narendra Modi, but this time, at least in many seats, all these combinations are playing out. Interesting caste details that we can discuss later, but Nasir Masoodi is also joining us, our friend from the cool climes of Jammu and Kashmir. Nazir, at this moment, it's interesting that for the first 6 phases, we'll keep coming to you because there is one seat in Jammu and Kashmir and Ladakh that will keep going to polls in each phase. What is the difference that you see from phase 1 to phase 2 and the dynamics that are playing out there?
Well, phase 2 is done and dusted. People have given their verdict. Who will be the winner, we will know on June 4. But on the ground, there were very interesting, dynamics we see on the ground. How people actually vote, people in urban areas, the different classes, and the people in rural areas. There is a complete difference between, perceptions and how they vote for and why they vote for. So if you go to the rural areas, you will see completely different perceptions about voting, who is their preferred candidate, and if you go to the urban areas, you see complete, which we saw since morning today. So Jammu constituency is actually the demographic complexion change after the delimitation. When 2 Muslim majority districts were part of it, Poonch and Rajouri, they were removed and made part of the Anantnag parliamentary constituency. Now it is predominantly a Hindu constituency. Now, what is playing out? Post abrogation of 370, Congress has effectively used how locals have been actually dispossessed. They are not getting the jobs. Their jobs are being given out to outsiders. They're talking about the land issues. They're talking about the mining and the minerals of this area and so many issues. While as the BJP is talking about Prime Minister's, name, using his name to get votes. They are talking about the nationalism. They are talking about the largest security things. So a host of things they are talking about to get votes. Here, BJP candidate is seeking third term, and Congress candidate says he's confident to it. But what I have seen,
so the battle in Kashmir is playing out. Hold on to that thought, Nazir. Let me get in my guests here. We have Hilal Ahmed, Associate Professor of CSDS. He's an academic who's written many stories, many articles. Mr. Ahmed, in this campaign, through this campaign, we also saw the narrative change from, references to Hindu-Muslim politics to the class politics. There's also this thing about rich and poor. Do you think these issues of economy and identity are something that people this election are voting for, or do you think they're more localized? Or it's one of the voters there was talking about nation building. What are the things that are weighing on people's minds?
Even it is highly localized. We cannot underestimate the question of economic issues. By the way, if you carefully compare the campaign with 2019 campaign, you find that for the first time in last 10 years, the basic usual electoral questions have become the talking point. It was not the case earlier. In fact, if you ask me, for the first time, BJP has somehow tried to play a defensive posture. That was not the case earlier. They were in the position to set the agenda, but that's not the case. One. Second is, and this is surprising, because Prime Minister Modi, and if you look at the manifesto of BJP, you find that the 4 main promises which were made in the manifesto were related to socio-economic questions. In fact, you do not find Hindutva prominently in the manifesto of the BJP.
Yes.
And even the Modi factor, though it is actually presented to us as Modi ki guarantee. So the point I'm trying to make is simply this, that the entire political class agreed on the question that socio-economic questions are important, and there should be some kind of a serious political discussion on them in electoral terms. Okay. So that is played out very clearly. But now, because this is something which is related to the voter turnout, and I think that is the reason why the strategies change.
Right. Ankit, would you like to ask Professor Ahmed?
Professor Ahmed, if I may get in at this moment, I just want to understand from you, because so much emphasis has been given on the voter turnout. After the first phase, in fact, if Vasudha has been speaking to her sources in the BJP, the people that I have been speaking to, all of them were saying that the voter turnout of second phase is crucial. That will, in fact, give a sense of which way is this election heading. Both sides, the opposition and the incumbent, use the voter turnout, low or high, to their advantage, to try and give some sort of an argument in their favor. What is your view in why we are seeing such low numbers, apart from, of course, the heat that people are, the heat wave, the only wave that at least at this moment that is bothering the people?
I think I would, first of all, this low, when we say this is actually insignificantly low voter turnout, we have to decide what is our benchmark. If the benchmark is 2019, 2014, certainly it's a low turnout. But if you historically look at the turnout, you find that it has always been the case. We have 57 to 58% vote. So it is not as significant low as comparison if we compare it to pre-2014 era. So that's one thing. Second thing is that if that is the case, then there are 2 things which are very clearly coming out. One, that the committed voter of all political parties have come out and voted, but not the sympathizer and the floating voter. So that is creating a lot of tension among both the groups. One. Then the third point is about the first-time voter. If you look at the participation, and I think you also mentioned that, Ankit, that the voter turnout of first-time voter is significantly low. It means that it indicates some kind of a political apathy, which we need to discuss seriously after that. At the moment, it is very difficult to make any conclusive statement about that.
Right, that's very well said. I think the sympathizers and supporters, it will probably take more for the parties to bring them on. Ankit, you've been reporting from Meerut all today, and this was one seat that the BSP-SP combined did not win in 2019. Although the winning margin was very marginal, but tell me more about Western UP, because that is where a lot of attention is. The BJP's sources that I've been speaking with are extremely confident about Eastern Uttar Pradesh, but West is something that everyone is keenly watching. Although UP as a whole seems to be quite uninteresting this time, if I may say, with the Ram Temple and Rashan and representation. So, what is the mood like in Western Uttar Pradesh?
Before I hit the ground, Vasudha, I also thought that, Uttar Pradesh largely a done deal. If BJP is saying 80, of course, that will be to boost their cadre, but they will be in pole position. Having said that, I still feel BJP is the party to beat in Uttar Pradesh. But when you go on to the ground, like Professor Rizal was saying, apart from the core committed voter who believes that Ram Temple is something that has given a fillip to the BJP, I see a lot of fleeting voters this time. We were talking about the caste calculations. Just very quickly, let me just give you a sense of what Meerut is witnessing this time. Throughout the day, I went to Hapur rural areas. I went to a stronghold of the BJP, stronghold of the opposition of the India Alliance. One thing is very clear, that a lot of voters who voted X-party, whichever party they voted in 2019, this time that voter is shifting to some other party. Their reasons could be X, Y, Z. And I also feel the fight, at least in a city like Meerut, is very well defined. There is no confusion of the third triangle here of the BSP. The fight is between the India Alliance and the BJP. It will be a close contest. Mr. Govil coming from outside is something that a lot of people are talking about. And apart from that, there is this section which does feel that in a head-to-head contest, it will be to the last vote which will be counted. The equations have changed. We'll have to interestingly wait and see whether the angry Thakur vote has come back to the BJP fold. If that has not happened, it could be a very interesting contest when the EVM counts the last vote on June 4th.
And I think it all boils down to the fact if the Modi factor remains as popular as it was in 2019. Thank you, Ankit. And thank you, Professor Ahmed, for joining us. With that, we wrap this show and we'll keep getting you all the details. More news and updates on the other side.